Nike versus Adidas, legendary rivalry. And there's a lot of evidence to suggest that Adidas brand reigns supreme in this clash of giants, at least from the perspective of hip-hop. The silent war of brands between Adidas and Nike started nearly 60 years ago. The landscape of the shoe industry has changed so many times during this time, although those two have pretty much usually stayed at the top. During this marathon, both brands had their ebbs and flows, their peaks and their troughs, and even now it's difficult to tell who the clear winner is. Yes, business-wise, Nike is the most well-known sports brand in the world, judging by market share numbers, where Nike has 27.4% compared to Adidas' 15.4%. Nike is also by far the most valuable sportswear firm with a market cap of almost $200 billion, more than double that of Adidas. However, there's still a reason this rivalry is still a thing between us, the consumers, the customers. Some of us simply have a special place in our hearts for Adidas brand's products, but why? You can spot a pair of Nikes basically anywhere. More and more NBA, NFL, and FIFA athletes join the Nike club every year. Classic pairs like Air Jordans and Air Forces coming in and out of fashion consistently. And celebrities love it. There's tons of Nike advertisements everywhere from sports events, celebrity collabs, movies. Sure, Adidas also sponsors athletes, although the disparity in numbers compared to Nike is huge. So how has Adidas gotten the love of the fans all over the world? The answer is a little bit unexpected. I mean, if you like hip-hop, the chances are you have the Adidas brand embedded in your core memories, as Adidas has been an active supporter of rap throughout its history. Even Adidas' latest resurgence is mostly tied to their highly successful collaboration and deal with Ye back in 2015. Yeah, things got progressively weirder with that partnership eventually terminating, and now it caused the brand some unwanted heat on social media, although the streak Adidas was on for those 7 years until the whole Ye pushback was arguably more than worth it for the company. At one point, Yeezys were considered to be the most influential pair of sneakers in the modern history of fashion. And they still are. Turtle Dove Yeezy Boost 350s released in 2015 started the Yeezy craze that generated over $1 billion annually. In West's own words, his company was the second most growing company in history, and at that time made him the single highest paid person in footwear. The Yeezy designs themselves were rather anticlimactic for the mid-2010s, and people's opinions on the lineup were very polarizing, but they seemed like a go-to for most. Some called Boosts ugly, alien-like, and overrated, while others thought of them as something highly fashionable, modern, and fresh, especially as time went on. One thing was apparent: Yeezy's success skyrocketed due to the perfect mixture of hip-hop fans' love for rap music, in particular for Ye's music, the love for Ye's fashion forwardness, and the comfiness and uniqueness of Adidas shoe designs, and some advanced marketing strategies. While things went sideways with the Ye and Adidas collab, the sports brand decided to keep on selling Yeezy designs without Ye's branding, although we haven't seen a release since that announcement. But it's important to note that things weren't always like this between sports clothing brands and rappers. Back in the 80s, Nike's Air Jordans were arguably the hottest thing in the sports shoe industry globally. Nike's brand strategy to target only the highest tier athletes like Michael Jordan paid off, generating a huge wave of brand awareness and profits for the company. Investing in collaborations with athletes was always going to be a safe bet, especially given that Nike had been working with the USA market from day one. They were founded in America. Even now, Nike's strategy is what makes their brand a more successful company compared to others, and getting one of the most recognizable athletes of all time and Michael Jordan on their brand certainly helped them on their rise to dominance. That same year, a young aspiring hip-hop artist named LL Cool J sported a pair of Air Jordan 1s on the back cover of his debut album, Radio, in 1985. Even though one of the hottest new rappers around at the time were the hottest pair of sneakers, it somehow went silent and failed to make any huge impact on the cultural landscape. Not as music, but the choice of footwear. While LL was a hot prospect back in the 80s, and probably could have sold any product he was given, it was his Def Jam label mates who would go on to kickstart the rap and sneaker world's duo. Established in 1983 by Joseph Run Simmons, Daryl DMC McDaniels, and Jason Jam Master J Mizell, Run-DMC were absolutely huge at the time, breaking through barriers and gaining international renown with relative ease. They represented the new music of rap that came from the streets and carried unique urban aesthetics that were deeply rooted in it. Being the first hip-hop group to have a gold record, the first hip-hop group to have their videos played on MTV, the first hip-hop group to appear on American Bandstand and grace the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, and the first hip-hop group to perform at Live Aid and receive a Grammy Award nomination, Run-DMC were an incredible investment in the making for basically any brand back then. However, it seemed like it wasn't obvious at the time, as Run-DMC were actually the first to make a move in that direction themselves. In Soul Collector issue 21, Run-DMC shared their version of the Adidas collab success story. Well, back in '86, we were doing the Raising Hell album, and we rapped about everything. You know what I'm saying? Run-DMC, we rapped about everything we would look, touch, eat, sleep, or thought about. The whole Adidas record actually came about. There was a doctor in our neighborhood named Dr. Diaz, and he was like this community activist dude. He even wrote a little pamphlet and he put it around the neighborhood called Felon Shoes, where he was saying that kids and youth in the streets that wore Lee jeans and Kangol hats and gold chains and Pumas and Adidas without shoelaces were the thugs, the drug dealers, and the lowlifes of the community. Being part of the US urban community back in the 80s, Run-DMC had their own opinion on this whole situation and decided to take matters into their own hands to push to the wider audience. So we said, let's do a record about our sneakers. Let's talk about the sneakers that we wear on our feet, but let's put a positive spin on it to throw it in the face of this Dr. Diaz who's trying to judge the youth just by appearances. Like, you can't judge a book by its cover. We're young, we're educated, a lot of us go to school, a lot of us have jobs. Basically, the group wanted to fight against a harmful stereotype in a very poetic and straight to the face kind of way. They wanted to show that people from where they came from can be successful no matter what their upbringing was like or what they were wearing. Even more than that, they could conquer the world and make it dance to their music while singing their lyrics. A lot of us, even though we look like our peers in the neighborhood, but you can't judge everybody by that. So we wrote the record Adidas, and we just wanted to say because we had a chance to create hip-hop and travel around the world and do good things with hip-hop. That's why we said, my Adidas walked through concert doors, roamed all over Coliseum floors, stepped on stage at Live Aid. It was meant to be an inspiring track for all people who face judgment and prejudice towards them based on their looks and origins. And there's no need to say that it turned out to be a cultural hit that shaped the entire rap landscape. In short, the first ever rap and sportswear company collab wasn't even technically an endorsement. DMC said, "We actually did the record Adidas because we loved Adidas. Even before we had the record deal, we wore Adidas in the hood. You would save your allowance to get Adidas. You know what I'm saying? You would just take a job anywhere just to save up enough money to get some fresh new Adidas. So we loved Adidas." After the release of the My Adidas song, Adidas' popularity increased tremendously. And funnily enough, music was so distant from the marketing world, and rap especially, that Adidas couldn't explain the brand awareness boom until one of their employees saw this phenomenon in person. They had a guy in LA named Angelo Anastasio. He was current with the pop and the rock, you know, the club scene and the athletes and the designers and all of that. People were like, you know, Anastasio, have you heard this Run-DMC? He was like, huh? What? What the hell is a Run-DMC? And rap music? Huh? So they put him up on it. So he went to Adidas and said, you know, listen, I know what's going on. There's this rap group Run-DMC that made this. So Adidas assigned him to leave LA, to fly to New York, to go to the show that Run-DMC was doing in Madison Square Garden. He came, and he was hanging backstage. But when Run went out there during the show, D, take it off your feet. Hold it up. What's those? Everybody in here, if you got Adidas on, hold them up. So 40,000 people in a sold-out Madison Square Garden held a sneaker up, and Anastasio was like, oh my god, it's true. Anastasio got back on the plane, returned to LA, and reported the craze he saw to the Adidas higher-ups. He explained to his German partners that the reason behind the charts blowing up was an American rap group called Run-DMC and a quote-unquote little record they made. The reaction of Adidas higher-ups was brilliant in retrospect. Hold up, Angelo. First of all, what the hell is rap music, and what in the world is a Run-DMC? Adidas agreed, and Anastasio returned to the rap group with a deal, or the deal, to be correct. It was the first ever $1 million endorsement deal in the hip-hop industry, and marked a huge milestone for rap in general. And the deal turned out to be a stunning success for the sportswear company. As Anastasio said, I gave them $1 million, but they ended up generating sales of probably more than $100 million over the next 4 years. This level of return on investment is what literally any kind of brand would look for, and in this case, Adidas' vision was rewarded. Adidas began to gain exposure when their superstars appeared in Run-DMC and Aerosmith's hit Walk This Way, followed by an appearance on Run-DMC's 1986 single My Adidas. Basically, it was the first time for a shoe brand to have its own rap theme song. Given Adidas' brand mentality, Run-DMC was the perfect match for them. Young, self-made stars who were regular street kids, not criminals, not so long ago back in the hood, and rocked Adidas shoes and tracksuits willingly, were a far cry from Nike and the prime athletes who were the face of the company, who often saw it as business-only deals. Run-DMC loved the brand. They lived the lifestyle Adidas was promoting, and that's why it looked so natural and led to incredible success. Adidas later honored the group with their own signature superstars, colored red, white, and black, with the Run-DMC logo on the back of the shoe. Run-DMC turned Adidas' original superstars into something way more than just a pair of classic shoes. A socio-political symbol of resistance, and the power of creativity over negativity. The deal legitimized rap in both the public and business eyes, making hip-hop a brand new cultural phenomenon that's still taking over the world.